Hey there, thanks for clicking on this video. My name's Thomas and this is Zarbo Audio Projects. And since you did click on this video, there's a good chance you know who it's about. Today we're going to remember someone because this is the 5th anniversary of the death of a DIY speaker building giant, Jeffrey Allen Bagby. Jeff Bagby passed away at the age of 60 on March 24th, 2020 from complications from COVID. I didn't know Jeff super well. A lot of my fellow DIY speaker builders knew him much better. Spent a lot of time with him. He was generous with his time. But he did make an impact on me as someone who was struggling with trying to figure out this speaker designing stuff. As you may or may not know, Jeff almost single-handedly created many of the software programs that we as DIY speaker designers used to manipulate files, to simulate loudspeaker passive crossovers, and predict frequency response. Scrolling alongside me are some of the programs that Jeff has designed or had a part in designing to simulate various aspects of speaker design. PCD probably being the most well-known and used, but he really did create a group of programs that allowed for a nearly start-to-finish process of loudspeaker design. My first time meeting Jeff was actually floating in a hotel pool on a Saturday evening in Springboro, Ohio, after the speaker design competition at Parts Express. My wife, Jeff, and myself were the only people in the pool, and he introduced himself, as did I, and we floated around in that Holiday Inn pool for a good half hour or so, talking speakers, subs. We talked about some of our favorite drivers, projects that we had upcoming. I remember he was telling me about a new passive radiator that he was using that he really liked. I had no idea who I was even talking to. I just thought he was a nice guy named Jeff. It wasn't until some days afterwards that I realized who he was. He never said, "Hey, you know, I'm Jeff Bagby, right? I'm the guy that engineered this software and designed that speaker." No, he was just a guy who liked to talk speakers and was just humble and nice to talk to. Myself and others have thanked him many times over the years for his contributions to the speaker building hobby. But to hear him say it, early on in his speaker building design career, he was basically just trying to understand and figure this stuff out for himself. And being the genius that he was, he ended up designing the software that didn't exist so that he could do what he wanted to do as far as creating good sounding stereo loudspeakers to his own satisfaction. And thankfully for all of us, he was nice enough to give that software to anyone who wanted it, free of charge. He wanted to help other people be able to experience the joy that he felt in designing great sounding loudspeakers from the ground up. And designing speaker crossovers was a bucket list thing for me, long before the phrase was probably even coined. Designing an optimized crossover for a speaker is by far the most difficult thing to do of all the speaker building tasks there are, in my opinion. And Jeff's PCD program made it possible for the rest of us to create excellent sounding crossovers that got the most out of the drivers we chose. Jeff was also active on several speaker building forums, including Tech Talk, the Parts Express forum, and he helped a lot of people with questions on probably every speaker topic that a designer might have. Not only that, but he even held a loudspeaker design seminar in Kokomo, Indiana, where he lived back in December of 2013. Basically just to help those of us who were hungry to learn more about PCD. I went, even though I barely knew what passive crossover designer was. My wife went with me and we both remember it. There was a pretty nasty blizzard going on, and Eileen and I witnessed several accidents on the way home. A few that happened literally right in front of us. One pickup truck was driving directly ahead of us, and then it literally just started spinning around and around right in front of us on the freeway. Somehow we didn't hit it. But Jeff designed quite a few loudspeakers and subwoofers. Kairos, Solstice, Spirit Winds, Continuums, Quarks come to mind. There were a lot more than that. And many of them were published and free for the public to build. I've also built a few of Jeff's designs myself. Some of those and many others are what you see scrolling on the screen right now. Like I said, I didn't know Jeff super well. I'm not trying to pretend that I did, but here's the kind of guy Jeff was. A bunch of years back, I went to a speaker design get-together started by a guy named Wolf. His real name is Ben. The event was called the DIY Indiana. He still holds them to this day. It's a unique kind of speaker competition with criteria that changes each year. Lots of creativity there. Anyway, Jeff was there that year, and there were door prizes that were being given away that different companies had donated, and I happened to get a tub of Duratex, basically truck bed liner looking stuff that you roll on speakers for an instant durable finish. Jeff saw me walking around with it, and he asked me if I wanted to sell or trade for it. Not really thinking, I said no, as I had wanted to try it and had never gotten around to picking any up since it was a tad expensive. But then I thought to myself, Tom, this guy did a seminar to teach PCD. He's offered tons of advice to speaker builders over the years, including me. He's made some of his greatest speaker creations available to anyone. So before I left, I gratefully handed him the tub of Duratex. He asked me what I wanted in return. I told him to consider it a small thank you. He said, thanks for what? Like he had no idea how much he'd actually helped me over the years. I said, for giving me and probably everyone here in this room the tools to design speakers, man. He kind of shrugged his shoulders, said thanks, and we spoke for a bit longer, and that was that. Fast forward a few weeks, and I get a package in the mail containing several drivers from Jeff. These here. He didn't have to do that, obviously. It struck me how thoughtful he was. He also included an encouraging note, which was really nice. Over the years, Jeff has emailed and PM'd me several times, encouraging me to keep at it when I'd get frustrated with not being able to figure out PCD or measuring or anything speaker related. Tom, you're going to get it, he said. You drove 12 hours in a blizzard to sit in a seminar to learn how to design crossovers. The desire is obviously there. Just stay with it. Don't get frustrated and you will get there. You know, I really took that to heart, and I have to tell you that it helped to push me to keep me going to start simulating and designing my own crossovers. Honestly, there are a lot of guys who are really giving in this community. There is a fairly steep learning curve with this stuff, as we all know, but Jeff was certainly one of the most giving and humble folks, especially considering his level of expertise in the hobby of speaker building, which was, to put it mildly, extreme. And all of this, of course, says nothing of the man that he was outside of the speaker design arena, which, from what I gather, was that he was a man of faith, a fellow that loved and served God, and that he was a person of integrity and high character. So I just wanted to take some time to remember an important pioneer in the hobby of DIY speaker building. Calling him a Superman probably isn't much of a stretch. There likely will not ever be another single man in history that will do more to help the do-it-yourself speaker community than Jeff Bagby did. The global pandemic hit the entire world pretty hard. There were a lot of things that were going on at the time, and unfortunately, Jeff's passing was one of those things. And it's tempting to just try and forget about everything associated with that time in our history. But it's been about 5 years now, and I think Jeff Bagby and what he did for the DIY speaker building community really deserves to be remembered. If there have been people in your life that have helped you along the way to learn how to do whatever it is that you love to do, thank them and be thankful for them. And as you learn and grow, become one of them. That's why I started this YouTube channel, to help pass along what I knew to someone who maybe isn't quite there yet. Because, hey, we all have to start somewhere, right? And like I often say, if you're on the fence about getting started with speaker building, why not give this thing a shot? You never know what you can do till you try. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye now.